Welcome to Marcy in the Middle. Today's guest is Crystal Robinson. She's a great friend and she's had a phenomenal career in women's basketball. She led the Atoka Lady Cats to their first state tournament back in 1992, and then she went on to play ball at Southeastern and then the WNBA. She has also coached high school, college, and in the WNBA, and is now training students privately. Crystal also wrote a book a couple of years ago called Finding Myself, which you all need to order. And maybe her most exciting accomplishment is that she is the first and only Black woman to be inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. She's a very big deal. Today, she's going to share a little bit about her story and what she's learned. So let's get started. Welcome to Marcy in the Middle. I am lucky today to have one of my favorite humans, basically my sister, but I know we don't look like twins, and I can't play basketball, but still, I'm still claiming her. Crystal Robinson, which, of course, everyone knows, but I'll brag on you later. Welcome to the podcast,
Thank
Crystal.
you. I'm very excited to be here. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
And it's a rare thing now.
Yeah, it seems like it used to be a lot, and now it's a rare thing, so I think they mean a little bit more now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously, we go back just a little bit, and you have had a stellar career and maybe one of the most well-known humans from Atoka, for sure.
Well, I have had a stellar career, but I don't think we can even talk about that until we talk about how we met. I don't know if the audience knows how
I agree.
you and I met and how we become such good friends. But so I don't know if you want to tell the story you want me to tell.
Yeah, we can go there, but let me show. I think that people probably know this too, but she's an author, not just a basketball player and not just a coach, but she wrote a book, Finding Myself, 2 years ago, like basically today we figured out, because we were promoting it in our fancy clothes 2 years ago.
We sure were.
But I even have a spot in the book, so it's like, now it's at the top of my favorite book ever collection. But I met Crystal when I was a senior, and I am going to let you tell the story because you're better at it than I am.
Okay, so Marcy and we met. I actually transferred. I spent a year in Louisiana playing basketball because I wanted to play 5-on-5, and we still played 6-on-6. So when I came to Atoka, I really didn't know anybody, and Marcy was, I'd say, probably like the mayor of the school. Everybody knew who she was because she's so outgoing, and I don't know, she's one of the first people to kind of make me feel good, and we started talking and every day, and I always jumped over people's heads in the hall, and Marcy couldn't believe it. And one day she just asked me to come home because her dad didn't believe I could jump over her head, and I came to her house and jumped over her head, and we've been friends. We've been like sisters ever since. So
exactly.
That's kind of how we met.
Yeah, you were like a phenom, and we were all just like, who is this person? Who is this awesome human? But you were and are much more than an athlete. But yeah, we started at the little tiny Atoka High School, and then you and your whole family, I guess, came. Did Brandy and everybody come, and BJ come at the same time?
Yeah, we all lived here. Everybody graduated at Atoka, and everybody actually got a basketball scholarship. So
that's right. Well
BJ
done.
didn't continue to play, but she did. BJ was an all-stater. Most people forget about that.
Yes.
'Cause she didn't play college basketball, but she was a very good basketball player.
Yeah. So you grew up in Stringtown.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that you need to buy the book. I'll just cut to that right now. We're not promoting it for anything in particular right now, but it's a good read, and I think it gives a good view of not only your life, but kind of life in a small town.
Yeah, and honestly, I wrote a book not because I think I'm famous or I think that I have so much to say. I think I wrote a book because I feel like there's lots of people out there just like me who think they can't, who think where you come from a population of 400 people. It wasn't even a professional women's basketball league when I was a kid, so we didn't even have those dreams. I did, but mine was to play in the NBA, which was unrealistic. But I think I wrote that book just to tell people you can overcome anything and you can achieve a semblance of what you want. It might not be, everybody's not going to be a pro basketball player, but you can be a physical therapist and still be a part of a team. And I think that's literally what that book tells you.
Yeah, you're very good at bringing people up with you and underneath you, obviously coaching, but Yeah, you actually started out in Stringtown.
Yes, in Stringtown, man, those were the days. Me and all my family, I tell people we lived in like a little village. You could throw a rock. We all lived so close to each other.
Yeah.
So all my cousins, we kind of grew up more like sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
And we had the matriarch of our family was named Eretta Smith, and man, she whooped all of us like we were hers. So um, it was just, I mean, I wouldn't go back and change anything about the way I grew up.
Yeah. There's something about being around your cousins and your family. And I know I can't fathom growing up in an urban area any more than probably people who grow up in an urban area can.
Fathom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how we grow up in the country, because it is a very specific way of life. And I do think it helps you. I think even at that young age, you learn to overcome some things, and you do not assume that everything is going to be given to you, and that builds your character,
It
your
does.
perseverance, and your kind of your drive to have things and to earn things and to succeed and make people proud of where you came from.
Yeah, that's a true story. I think that growing up the way we grew up, I just learned I learned to like to work, whether it was hauling hay or, with me and my cousins, or whether we were
Yeah.
doing other things. But all I know is that Stringtown America was probably not going to be my future. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
Yeah.
wanted to. I don't believe I get a hard time in my professional life because like I was in Phoenix last year.
Yep.
I coach for a person, and I don't think she can be successful if she and I are not on the same page. Or if we
Right.
don't have the same page. So I moved out the way so she could be successful. But people view me wrong for that. That, oh, you change jobs a lot, or you do this a lot, or you do
Yeah.
that a lot. But I don't, and this is my philosophy. And this world is a big, vast place.
Yeah,
and
it
if you
is.
work in the same job for 30 years in the same place, it is very hard to experience unless you're making a ton of money, everything outside. I think that I
Right.
have been blessed enough to be able to have different jobs and go different places
Mhm.
and visit different things. And I mean, I feel like when I pass, the only thing I can take with me is that the things that I've learned on this earth. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to learn as much as I can about as many people as I can and different cultures and different things as I can while I'm here.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you and I are probably a little bit alike in that I don't want to stay at the same thing very long. And not because I don't like what it is, because I'm
Yeah.
like you. I really have never worked anywhere I didn't like. And I loved the people that I worked with. And I think there's always something you can learn from wherever you are, even if it's a tough season and you may not particularly care for what it is there. It does build things in you, but your life is so short. And I'm 51 and are you 48?
I'll be 50 my next birthday.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Awesome. 50s
Well,
are good.
And I also think that, and for me, this is a part, and I might miss the mark and make a lot of people mad about this, but if you're a Christian, in Christianity, you have to be able to relate to other people
Yeah, you
if
do.
you're going to be able to witness or bring them there. And if you're not able to expand your horizons, then you're working in one space.
Yeah, I think so too.
So.
And there is nothing like traveling. And traveling is a luxury. Like it's expensive and it's hard to get there. But you have you've been able to
For
see a
free.
lot
That's
of
a blessing.
well, not for free, but
Well,
while you were playing.
Yeah, but I didn't pay for it.
You didn't pay
I
for it,
didn't
but
pay
your
for
legs, your knees paid
My
for
knees
it.
paid for it, my body paid, but when it boils down to it, you pay a price for everything.
Yeah, you do.
Marcy.
Yeah, you do.
And I tell kids that all the time. The price I paid for being a professional basketball player is I was gone for 20 years.
Mhm.
I prioritized being great at that, and I didn't spend as much time with my family. Now that I'm older, now I'm in a position where
Yeah.
do I want to keep chasing basketball dreams, or is it time to start making some real life memories?
Yeah, yeah.
Other than just basketball memories.
Sure. But you have seen and gotten to meet a lot of different people, and
Yes.
you have done well everywhere you've been, and I think you've become beloved everywhere you've been, which is not easy to do.
Well, I think it's the whole relatable thing. I go into almost all situations like an open book.
You do.
Like I go to Italy and I learn that culture. I learn that language. I went to Russia And I think that you can't go places if you want to learn. You have to live like them,
Yeah.
or at least experience some of the
Yes.
things they experience. And since came with that kind of mentality, that people accepted me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that when I played in Europe, all of the people that I played for, they would always tell me things like, "You're different from other Americans. You're different. You're different." And I'm like, well, I wouldn't say I'm different. I just come here to learn. I didn't come over to Italy to live like I live in America.
Right.
Or I'm not gonna
Yeah.
learn.
Well, there's a level of humility
Yeah.
that is, we're all the same.
We
I mean, when it boils down, I don't care where you are on the globe.
No matter how much money you have,
That's right.
or how much money you don't have, when it boils down to it,
Yeah.
we're all the same.
Yeah, we are.
And
And
your ancestors moved farther away from the equator than mine.
there you go. Darn it, because look at your skin. So you start in Stringtown. You go and live with your grandmother.
In Louisiana.
Okay, which was
I was in
quite
the
an
8th
experience.
grade. It was quite an experience.
My goodness.
Yeah, I actually ended up going to a 7th and 8th grade school. That's all they had in there, and they probably had about 500 students, but there was 18-year-old 8th graders, because there was
Oh, my goodness.
a boys' home in the
Yeah.
area, and they transferred. So it was a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
But I literally met this little lady named Sandra Hickingbottom. She was a little white lady that was about 5'5", and real country. So I recognized.
Yes,
felt
you
really
related.
easy I related to her really easily, and she had basketball tryouts, and I shot a right-handed layup, and she said, "Ooh, can you do that left-handed?" I was like, "Absolutely." I shot it left-handed, and then we were best friends after
That's
that.
right.
Like, she kind of guided me and took care of me through that.
Yeah.
And, because it was definitely a culture shock here. I'm used to hunting and fishing, and these kids are not doing anything that I did as a child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your grandma, did she make you toe the line?
My grandma was. I was my grandma's favorite kid, because
Okay.
I would come home from school and I would mow the yard and wash the
Oh,
dishes, and then
okay.
she would come home from work and not have to do anything.
Yeah.
So all the other kids in the neighborhood, they all made fun of
They
me because
hated you.
they hated me because she'd always give me $1, always give me that. But
That's
I made
right.
her life easier. So, and they never had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were raised right,
Yeah.
and you knew the drill.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you come back.
Uh-huh.
You come into. Did you go back to Stringtown or straight to Atoka from
I came
Louisiana?
back to Stringtown, but Phil Daniel played college basketball
Okay,
with my
yeah.
dad, but I wasn't in a school zone. Like, I wasn't Stringtown's
Right.
kids or anything. So Phil just started talking to
Mhm.
my dad about, you need to bring your daughter to Atoka.
Yeah.
Come to Atoka. And I did not want to move to Atoka. Like, I grew up being huge rivals with them in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I had this thing about Atoka, your dad, you remember when I
Yes.
played baseball.
That's
So
right.
going to Atoka was like hard for me, but it was, I don't know, it couldn't have worked out any better.
No, it couldn't. That was a divine appointment, I'm
Definitely.
going to say. So when you talk about baseball, you said when there was no WNBA when we were
No.
little kids. So you want to be in the NBA. Obviously, you're a girl, and that's
Not gonna
highly
happen.
unlikely. Well, I don't know if I would have ruled it out totally.
Well,
but
I'm telling you right
Yeah.
now, I'm not that woman who thinks that at my height I can compete with somebody that's 6'10",
Yeah.
317 pounds. Those
Yeah.
guys are something different. But,
They are.
That was my dream.
but that was the dream.
That was all I had.
Yeah. Well, and because at Stringtown, you did play with the boys.
Yeah, my cousins.
Like-
I beat them all the time. I only had one cousin. Stacy Washington was the only cousin I couldn't beat.
Is that right?
He's the only one I couldn't beat. Yeah.
Okay.
I beat everybody. Kevin, all of them. He's the only person that I just
Okay.
never
I didn't
could
know you
beat.
couldn't beat him.
He refused to let me.
Yeah,
beat
he
him.
was just determined. He might be the one cousin more stubborn than you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I can remember this is way before we knew you, but Mark played
Baseball.
Little League Baseball, and they came home from a ball game, and I didn't go. I don't know how I'm 4 years older than you and Mark, so I was much too cool. Probably living my own life at that point, not hanging out at the Little League game.
Yeah.
But I can remember them coming in, and he was so mad because a girl had beat him, and Dad was talking about, they've got this girl, and she and I. It just, yeah. And anyone who remembers Mark knows that was just like, oh,
Yes.
burned him. But it was great because even you were making a name for yourself. Yeah, way back in the day.
It's,
so
it's, It's really funny because I don't know if you remember, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, that girl who played in the Little League World Series.
Yes, yes, yes.
I was doing that in the 80s.
Yes.
It just was not social media or anything
No,
back then.
no.
I was playing on those teams and
Yeah.
being very successful back then. But Atoka was our rival, like Hayden Copeland and
That's
Patrick
right.
Turner and all those guys.
That's
like,
right.
We had a huge rivalry against them.
Yeah, and then they ended up being your best buddies.
Yeah, they sure did.
Well, Coach Daniel was another one in a million. And when you look back in your book, I love it because you, of course, I know most of the people until you get to the pros, and then I don't know any of those people, but that had an impact in your life. And I would say that was a defining moment in your.
I wouldn't be the player, the person, or anything that I am if it hadn't been for Phil and his family. Like, just like your family. When they took me in, it wasn't like I was a basketball player. He took me in as like a family. Like, he and I would shoot 750 shots a day, and Karen would cook dinner and bring it to the gym and bring the kids to the gym. Like, he invested so much time and energy. He taught me how to use my talent. So that's one of the things as a coach that I feel like I'm very particular about and good at, teaching kids how to use their talent, because so many kids or people just in my family that's way more talented than me fell through the cracks. Talent alone doesn't assure you're going to get there. It takes a lot of different little properties mixed in there to help you get, where you're trying to go.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, and you said earlier, basketball is not going to be everybody's ticket. And figuring out what your thing is, that is your part to play in the world, or your destiny, however you would like to say that, it takes more than just, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. The hours you have spent. Like, talk a little bit about that, because I feel like I was not a high school athlete. Yes, I can beat you in leg wrestling, but no, I was not at the gym. So, I mean, walk through like a day when you were in high school.
A day in high school, I'd get up at 6, and Phil would meet me at the gym, and we would shoot from about 6 to 7:30, and then go to school, have our day, have school practice, and then we'd come back every evening about 5 or 6 and shoot 750 shots. It was like clockwork. And, just to get to a high level or to be a pro sports. And, I mean, when it boils down to it, 3% of the population makes professional sports. There's 144 jobs in the WNBA. There's I can't tell you how many colleges, 4,000 or 5,000 colleges just in D1. So you have this huge pool, hundreds of thousands of players. What's going to set you apart? And to me, sports emulates life.
It does.
So whether you're working at a bank or you're working at a big, huge corporation, you're a part of a team, and you have to figure out a way to be your best within the team, but still help the team grow.
Right.
And I think sports kind of teaches you that. And the people who don't learn it, they end up on the outside of the bubble.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Having somebody that sees you and recognizes something in you and then coaches and guides you. And like you said, Coach Daniel is one of those people that we all need to strive to be like, because I feel like he was very good, and he was very good with students who were not you.
Every player that came through there, Phil Daniel had an individual relationship with him. That's something that I learned with him. If you want to get people to where they need to be, you have to know what they want. They have to be comfortable to be able to speak to you about certain things and hard things that are embarrassing. And I think that Phil, there's not a girl that played for Phil that does not have a very, very fond place for him in his heart.
Yeah,
in their heart,
I
because
think so too.
He treated us all like we were his.
Yeah, he did. He put the time in, and his family,
And,
like
and
you said,
I don't know if you know
was right
this,
with
but
him.
before Phil passed, he actually became my assistant coach and
Yes.
lived with me
Yes.
in Tishomingo. And he and I and Karen just he was like my father. I mean, just like a part of my family.
He's good. Tony and
Tony,
Tanya and Trent, good little humans. And of course now we're all old, so it's weird, but it's still those relationships in high school and even earlier than that, they matter for the rest of your life. A lot of that, like, they become your family. So you came, we met you, I graduated, you kind of were at the house after I got married.
Yeah, I was there a lot. Me and Michael got in trouble a lot
Yeah,
together.
you did.
I watched Michael teach himself how to turn a backwards flip. Like That's a determined person as well.
That's
Like
right.
the first time I would have done it and hurt my neck, I wouldn't have done it about
Yeah.
25 more times.
I'm like,
But
he's got a dental bill to prove it. I'm like, I don't know if he has any of his actually original teeth
Oh,
left in his head.
I watched him knock out his front teeth at least on 3 different
Yeah.
occasions. Once with a tennis
Yeah.
racket, once diving into
Diving.
the pool.
I think a
And
Coke
once
can.
he wired together 5 firecrackers and blew them up, held them in his teeth.
Yeah. Good job, Mikey.
But we had a great time. Me and Mike, and I just spent a lot of time with him and your dad. I became a tennis player.
Yes, you did.
Tennis hurt my basketball game because I had to get good enough to beat your dad.
That's right.
So it was like practice, 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 and I didn't play basketball that much. But those were some years of my life that I think I found just a lot of happiness because it wasn't about growth in basketball. It was just getting
Yeah.
to live and have fun and
Yeah.
learn a lot of things about yourself, becoming a
Yes.
friend, what you want in life, and
Yeah.
the influences that I got from your family. I wasn't getting at my house.
Yeah, you get
So-
something different from everywhere.
and I
Yeah.
think that I really made it a point to seek out people I could learn from. There's holes in your life. but
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to grow money, then find some people that are really good at it and
Yeah.
form a friendship with them. And I think that's what I did in life. I learned and grew so much because I formed friendships and I wasn't afraid to learn from anybody.
No, and you've got a very diverse group of friends, and that's, I think, what it gives you a beautiful life and very rich
Yeah.
life with people, but it gives you wisdom in a lot of areas that we might not have otherwise. That's true. So, okay, then Atoka goes to the state tournament. How many times did we go? Not
Every
your
year.
Did we go your freshman year?
My freshman year, we may not have went.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. No, I want to say we went.
We
and
might have.
lost,
Yeah,
the
I'm
first
thinking we did
round.
too.
I
I
think
bet
we
so
went
too.
and lost the first round.
Okay. And it kind of gave everybody a taste of,
Yeah,
oh,
it's something that I don't know that I've never talked about or never addressed, and you'll remember this, is we should have won state that year, but Tracy didn't give me an opportunity to form a friendship with her. Like that right there, I still have a lot of sad feelings inside about that because I think we could have been the best 2 players in the state. And
was that your,
freshman year,
okay, her junior year?
her junior year,
Yeah.
she was one of the best players in
Yeah.
the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, she
and
was.
We could have been something special together. And I think that after people kind of got to know me,
Yes.
that if we could redo that all over
Yes.
again, it would be a completely different
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's tricky. And high school is tricky
Your
anyway.
feelings, and it is. Like,
And yeah, just finding your place and figuring out how all that's going to work. And
and
yeah.
at that point in time, I was not the leader that I was by the time I was a senior. I didn't know how to bridge the gap or fix
Sure,
it. Now,
sure.
Nothing like that would ever happen on my
Yeah.
watch.
Well, and it just takes
Yeah.
time with a team to
Yeah.
get that figured
When
out.
you're moving into a new situation, that's always a weird
Yeah.
feeling. So,
Yeah. So we go on and we win. Was it 92 that we
We
won?
won my senior year, and that just goes
So
to show you that
is
talent.
that 93?
92. I graduated
No,
in
92. Okay. That's what
We
I thought.
won it my
Okay.
senior year. Should have probably won it a couple of times more, but talent doesn't always win. It was just
No,
teams
and
that
it
were
is.
better than us.
Yeah.
Those big rivalries with Bethel and Dale.
Yes.
And all those things, but Phil really did do a good job.
Yeah.
With the group of girls that he had.
And that was just, you guys were a really good, just a unique
group.
bunch of girls, and it was for Atoka. I know to some people talking about that, they're like, whatever, but I'm like, no, in a small town, it is like, it's a thing. And at that point, you put in your book, and I was flipping through it the other night, just kind of going over it, and I had totally forgotten that about the fire marshals, that the gym was so packed that the fire marshal shut the door every game, every home game.
Was that way in Southeastern? Too?
Yeah.
Every
And
game.
crazy, like totally crazy.
And more than me playing, you remember the Maggot Crew and those
Yes,
guys like
yes.
the
School spirit.
the school spirit and the fan support
Yeah.
that we had back then was really, really
Yeah.
amazing.
No, it totally brought the town together.
Yeah, it really did.
And those are just really, really good times. And then you kind of move on, and the next Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I ended up going to Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, I can remember you
And,
debating.
I remember Cindy actually helped me, took me down there and dropped me off.
Yes.
But it was a culture shock. People laugh when I tell them this because I'd never been around that many black people before in my life, like besides my family. Yeah. So I go to Louisiana Tech, and they took me to a party and dropped me off at Grambling and left me at a party.
Do not remember
And,
that.
Yeah. I left. I never went back. I mean, I wanted to transfer at that point.
Yes.
And then I ended up
Yeah.
going back to Southeast Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I didn't. My plan actually was to go to Tennessee and play for Pat Summitt, but Don Parham and Nick Keith, everywhere I went, they would just be there. It was really weird, like a sign. I would go to a restaurant. They would be at the restaurant, and they were really harassing Cindy and Morris, and we really want Crystal to come
Yeah.
here. And your dad was like, I don't think she's going to come to Southeastern.
Yeah.
But they talked me into taking a visit, and when I went to the visit, it was like I went to a basketball game, and there was maybe 5 people at the game.
Exactly. Like, I do not remember anything about Southeastern basketball before then.
Yeah, it was 5 people at the game, and then I actually only played at Southeastern 3 years, and I scored over 4,000 points.
Isn't that
3
crazy?
years, but
Yeah.
one of the best decisions. I mean, I'm still really close with Keith Baxter and Cherry Wilmoth, she was our manager of our team,
Yes.
and now she's an athletic director there.
Oh,
So
that's
I still
awesome,
have
isn't
great
it?
relations down there. But
Yeah. I think on the podcast, we are typically talking to people who are somewhere in the middle of life.
Mhm.
And looking back to like that time when you were deciding where to go to college, I do remember the stress of that, and everyone was worried because you kind of felt like Louisiana Tech was where you had to go because they had a great coach and there were some other
number
players.
one in the nation.
And like the place to be. And they're still, I think, have a good reputation. I think I saw them play
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago in the college tournament. But I can remember sitting at the bar at Mom's kitchen, and everyone was panicked. They were
Yeah.
like, she's sad. She's not happy. We have to figure out a way to do it. And that's a huge thing because you can't just pick up and play somewhere else.
Yeah, the
And-
rules have changed so much now. But we didn't have a portal back then. But I could have went to any college in the country I
Yeah,
wanted. I
yeah.
just chose to stay close to home because
Yeah.
for me, being happy is way more important than money. It's way more important than fame. It's way more
Yeah.
important. I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Because none of this stuff
Yeah.
down here is it's all temporary. You know?
Well, I think a lot of kids in that age, and we're getting close to graduation, there are things that you think, but if you are from, not whatever. There's no generalization of what everyone should do. But I think a lot of times, if you are kind of a big fish in a small pond, if you're popular and you're successful in high school and you come from a small town, going to a large university is a shock.
It's a definite culture shock.
Yeah, just like, and we were all so, even still, but back then particularly, we were all pretty tight, knit amongst ourselves. And when
Yeah.
you leave and go and there's no
Support.
and you used to be the one that packs the gym out, now you're obviously still well known even down there, but you weren't the senior,
Yeah, I was not
MVP,
yeah.
and you're new, and it's extremely competitive. So what advice would you give to somebody that is kind of in that stage
I
of
really
life?
wish that my parents were not very versed in it either. I wish they would have
None of
made
us
me
were,
stay
yeah.
a year
Mhm.
because I think that I made that commitment. I wish I would have stayed a year and toughed it out and then made a decision at the end of the year. And I would tell people in that situation that you have to do what makes you happy, but you have to actually evaluate your goals, what you want out of life. I had already been MVP of USA basketball.
Yeah.
I was really ingrained in the USA basketball system, so every coach in the country knew who I was.
Right.
So I did not have it didn't make me feel any kind of way about going to Southeastern because I
Right.
was still going to be picked for
Sure.
some of those things because I had already proved that I was good at it.
Yeah.
But to a kid, I would tell them that they have to figure out a way. You can't be successful. A success without happiness to me is like a firecracker that you light and it just barely pops.
Yeah.
You don't you don't get everything that you should get out of
Mm-hmm.
it. So for me, I'd rather make less money. I played in the same team in Italy for 4 years and
Right.
turned down $100,000 raises to go to Turkey.
Yeah.
I knew I wouldn't be happy in Turkey.
Right.
One, I don't want to hear them play that music all day. But anyway, to me, being happy was just way more important. And I would tell them to search for happiness, because when you're happy and fulfilled, other things will, to me, you're vibrating higher.
You
and the
attract-
things you're
yeah.
going to attract is going to be the things that kind of guide you along the way.
Yeah. No, I think that too. And it's just hard because when you're 18 and 19, you don't know what you don't know.
That is a true
And
story.
you know a lot of things sitting here now that you,
Hindsight.
yeah,
I talk
hindsight's
to
great.
I have a lot of 40-year-old friends that I just don't even tread on sung conversations with them, because they only know what they know, and it'll just turn into an argument. And why I do that to you or me?
Right, yeah. So you'll figure it out, and then
You'll figure it
we'll
out
talk
one
about
day.
it in another
Yeah.
10 years. So you go, the career at Southeastern is like incredible. And what is great, and this has happened everywhere, it's great for everybody who got to play with you, because it's not just you that gets to go on the ride.
Yeah.
And it elevated Southeastern basketball too. I mean, my goodness, they went to the Nationals. How many? All the years?
all the years, and then my sister Brandy transferred, and they went to D2 Nationals. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that that's a part of being and I think that I learned this at a young age at Stringtown. When you a leader and you're really good at something, and I think that your nephew Andrew
Mm-hmm.
learned
I do
this.
too.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have a superpower. You can either make everybody in that school feel good, or you can make them feel bad. So I learned, when I was at Stringtown, I would pick John Cooper. I picked the nerdiest people in the
Sorry,
school
John.
to be, and me and him were still friends. Like, at that point, that's what
Yeah.
everybody thought. He was the smartest, and I was poor, but John had to wear like size 11 shoes, men's, to school, and he had to grow into them.
Mhm.
And he taught me how to play chess. He taught me, like, if I couldn't understand some division problems, he'd stay in at recess and help me.
Mhm.
All I had to do was make him feel included. And if
Yeah.
anybody tried to mess with him, they would probably get beat up.
That's right.
Like, I wasn't a bully, but if you bullied people, I would
Yeah.
bully you. I bullied
Exactly.
bullies. So I learned that at a young age.
Yeah.
It's a superpower, and you have the ability to tie everybody together
Yeah.
if you'll just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Andrew learned that this year.
Yeah.
That everybody looks to you, and if that kid's cool to you, he's going to be cool to the other kids.
Yeah, I do too.
So
And you're always drawn to those people. And I think have you seen The Chosen? Have you watched any of The Chosen?
I don't know.
You've got to watch it, because
watch TV, but
I know.
I will watch it
You
now.
watch this,
Okay.
because it's Jesus and the disciples, and it's very you just see all the humanity of all of them, but Jesus too. But I'm like, when I think one of the things that made Jesus so attractive to everybody who was zero like him is that he totally knew who he was.
That's
he
me.
he knew who he was, so he could wash your feet, and he could take out the trash. He could do all the things, and there was nobody he was scared to be with, because he understood who he was. And while he knew who he was, he humbled himself. And I feel like good leaders, they know who they are, but they're willing to be humble, and
So
that's something.
Funny, my friends, I'm like a fish out of water. You might, like, I was training this kid, and his mom owned a car dealership on the Broken Arrow Expressway. It's a big Dodge dealership. And she's like, I love how you interact with people. You should come work for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not? It's
Yeah,
a new skill. Like,
I can do it.
I have people walking in there, and it's like, Crystal Robinson, what are you doing here? Like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm learning a new skill set. And that is the truth. Like, I think that's why I get along with people well. You might see me, I might be with a guy who don't have any teeth, and he might be completely dirty. And then I got a good friend that's Ray on Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
Like, my friends are vast, but I treat him just like,
Yeah.
tomorrow I could lose everything I have.
That's right.
Jeff would let me live in this house with no water, no electricity, but I'd have somewhere to lay my head.
That's right.
And I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it is. And just knowing circumstances change. You can be on the top,
Circumstances.
and then the next day you might not be. And can you still function, and what can you do with
I
that?
tell people it's very hard to beat a person who can thrive at every level.
That's right.
I don't ever feel like my back's against the wall, or no, I have my bad days, and yeah, things
Yeah.
go bad, but I feel like I'm always going to figure out a way to persevere,
Mhm.
because I can be comfortable with no money, or I can be okay with what I got.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, out of Southeastern, talk about, because this is something most of us know nothing of and will know nothing of. Talk about just the WNBA and how you got in the league, and
Oh, man.
I mean, just
Well, I thought I was going to be the 11th pick in the draft by the Phoenix Mercury.
Okay.
Because I'd had a lot of talks with Cheryl Miller, and I'm really good friends with her. And New York drafted me with the 6th pick. Now, first of all, they had Teresa Weatherspoon on the team, and I did not like
even I know
Teaspoon.
her.
Like, I knew I had played against Teaspoon in a couple of tournaments, and Teaspoon was this dog. Like, I was not happy that I got drafted by New York.
Yeah.
It was like, but I fell in love with New York. I had to, broaden my horizons, opened up a lot, but now it's like a second home to me. And, getting there was once you, like you said, when you're the best at something, every level you go to, you almost have to start over, and you have to prove certain things. And when I got to New York, for us to be successful, I had to be okay with taking a semblance of a back seat. Either lose and take the shots I wanted to take and create a lot of havoc, or I called myself a connector player. Like,
Yeah.
I passed up shots to make other people happy, but in the end, that's what made us win.
Mhm.
But we had a girl that they actually had to trade because she was a 3, I was a 3. She had started for 2 years there.
Mhm.
When I got drafted, I didn't even start, but I played 30 minutes a game. And Richie
Yeah.
called me in his office. He said, Crystal, she couldn't take it if I started you in front of her, so I'm going to start her, and you're going to play 30 minutes a game, and you'll always be on the court when it's important. I was like, it's okay with me, Rich. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
She could not take it, and they ended up trading her, but I had to find my way to fit in, and that's how me and Becky Hammond
Yes.
became very
Okay.
good friends, because she was not drafted. She coached for the San Antonio Spurs, and she was a free agent. And we got on the bus one day, and both of us had so many bruises because they was beating us up every
Yes.
day. We was like, man, we have to be friends. Like, we got to fight them together. So then that's how she and I became really good friends and roommates, because it was just so competitive, and you just constantly having to search yourself and say, do I really want to do this? Do I have it in me to do this? Do I have this fight in me? And that's the being a pro athlete, knowing that eventually one day somebody's going to come along and be better than you.
Yeah, and take your spot.
you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, I think that too. And I think we are in America, especially, maybe everywhere, but in America, we are really bad to look at the appearance of things and, oh, that looks glamorous, or they are living their best life here, and look at their feed on any platform that you choose to look at. And we're pretty much, we like what things look like, but the backstory of the difficulty and the work put in to stay at that level, to get to that level to start with, but to stay is like a whole other thing, and you don't typically see that part. We're not very good at showing, okay, this is
That's why I
what my body
retired.
looks like after this.
yeah, that's why I retired, because to be at that high level, you have to be in such phenomenal shape. I
Yeah.
had gotten out of shape because I had a surgery, and it was mentally, I could not even fathom having to get back into that shape. And, and I was very, very good, but I still was not Cheryl Swoops. I wasn't Cynthia Cooper. Like, I have no problem saying that all those players was better than me, so I had to be phenomenal. I didn't make mistakes, and I had to be in great shape. So I just ran like a crazy person the whole game. In the last 4 minutes, they had to play tired, which I trained at tired.
Right.
So now they're in my territory, and I usually can win those battles, but it was hard. And at one point, I just didn't want to have to compete like that no more. And then, sitting on the bench, I could have probably played. I retired when I was 34, and I could have probably played till I was 40 and made a maximum salary, but I would have been a 10 or 15 minute a player game, and that would have made me unhappy. So it wasn't for me.
Right. Yeah. You
Yeah.
decided to end when it.
And also too, when I retired, I tell the story, and people really think I'm joking. I was on a road trip, and my granddad has been passed away since I was in the 6th grade, something like that. But I lived with them for most of my life, and I was asleep, and I don't know if it was a dream or if it was true, but
Right.
my granddad sat down beside me on the bed, and he rubbed my head, and he said, "Baby, if you don't quit playing this game, you're not going to be able to walk when you're 50."
Mm-hmm.
I got up and retired the next day, and as you know my story,
Yeah.
I've had 3 total knee replacements on one leg, and I need one on the other one.
Yeah.
So that's
Takes
the
a
real
toll.
reason that I retired, just because
Sure.
my body was hurting so bad. I was taking
Mm-hmm.
about 8,000 milligrams of ibuprofen or Tylenol, then that was just scratching the surface level of the pain that my body was in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and people don't understand. Gilbert Arenas is a good example. When he got really good at basketball, and I was in Washington at the time, he worked out 3 times a day. He would go at 5:30, he'd go at 1, and he would come back in at 8. And that's a professional athlete's life. I mean, and their families come
Yeah.
to the gym with them. Like the men in the NBA, they literally have like a month and a half or 2 off,
Mm-hmm.
and they play over 120 games a season.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot on your body.
It is a lot on your body.
Not a day goes by that I really kind of wish I didn't have a desk job, for a while.
You couldn't. I can't see the desk job, but
Yeah. But when I started playing in New York, that was my first year to start going overseas, and I went to
Yes.
Greece my very first year, and I think that's when I started writing the book. I had
Yeah.
all this free time on my hands, and I had been thinking about what am I going to do, and I didn't set out to write a book. I just started journaling about when you're alone with your thoughts and feelings and things that you have to face
Yeah.
that you haven't faced. I thought, I'm just going to write all this stuff
Yeah.
down. And it was not a cool experience, because it was a lot of crying and a lot
Yeah.
of, come to Jesus talks with yourself and realizations. And I had all these books that I'd written in, and I let one of my friends read them that writes for the New York Times, and she's like, "This would be a
Yes.
great book." She said, "Just don't let anybody lose your voice. It needs
Right.
to sound like you."
Yeah, and it does sound like you.
And I started reorganizing, and she said it's not in book form, but you got to get it in book form.
Yeah.
And then I started that, and it took me about 8
Yeah.
years. I picked it up and put it down, but I finished it, and then when I did finish, I was like, should I publish this? Should I not? You selling
Yeah.
your whole life, and when it comes down to it, lots of my mom wasn't happy, and some people wasn't happy, but I think telling your story almost sets you free. It's like witnessing to the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in this age, you almost have to be to 40, or in my own life, I think that's true. And even in the 40s, you start figuring out yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I see this. And it takes you a minute to process it. And I think it's extremely therapeutic. You start learning yourself. And until we say our truth, and I don't mean tell everybody your opinion on
Yeah.
everything. I'm saying till you figure out, okay, this is who I am. These are the things I believe. These are things that I'm okay at. I got a lot of work to do over here. And that it's hard work to do that. I was going to ask you beforehand, and I didn't ask you, but did you ever work with a counselor or a therapist?
I did. I think your mom might be the only person that knows this. Before I left Louisiana Tech, I actually saw a therapist.
Yeah.
The therapist actually told me, you need to leave.
Yeah.
Like, this is not good for you.
Yeah.
That was the first time I saw a therapist, and that was the first time that I really started delving into the things that really bothered me, because when you go away from home and you're by yourself, the
Yep.
things that you have suppressed and pushed down, they
Yeah.
start trying to poke at you. And if you're not strong enough, those are the things
Yeah.
that can suck you into that huge depression,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I think so too. And I think all the things that I love about a small town, everybody's famous in a small town. And you do feel the pressure. Some people are better at it. I'm not very good at this. I do want to get along with everybody. I don't want to make anyone unhappy. So people pleasing is, that can be tricky, and you just get used to approval and what you get praised for or rewarded for, and you kind of hide the rest, and the rest is part of your story. And it's not, you're not going to hide from it forever. If you do, then you're going to medicate I'm
Some way,
convinced with some
somewhere.
way you have to deal with some of the stuff. Tell us if you don't care. You do talk about everything in the
No,
book.
yeah. Mhm.
Tell some of the things that you've kind of dealt with that you feel like you've gotten peace with, or stuff then, or even since then that you feel like you've gotten free
People-
enough to
I would say the
live
biggest
with.
thing that I am is good. I'm not a people pleaser anymore. I used to
Yeah.
want to make everybody happy, make everybody feel good.
Sure.
And I think once you learn that 50% of the people are not going to like you anyway.
No matter
and
what.
even if they come in your face and they act like they like
Yeah.
you, they're going to talk about you behind your back. So
Mhm.
it's a false sense of security. People
Yeah.
are not going to like. So I got to the point to where I'm not going to suppress who I am. The people who's going to
Mhm.
like me are going to like me, and the
Mhm.
people who are not are not.
Yeah.
They didn't like me anyway.
Right.
So I think that's probably and like I said, I'm just gotten very comfortable with who I am. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And you know that it's really hard for people to knock me off my game. You know,
Yeah.
and then I think that once people know your story, it takes away the ability for people to gossip, and you
Yeah, I
become
think so
less,
too. Yeah.
exciting to people. When, man, I'm telling you my story now, you can't
You
talk to
can't tell
people.
it.
You can't tell it the way you
Yeah.
want it to be told. So
Yeah.
I think that something that you just said is that, with the younger kids, learning to own who you are,
Mhm.
and learning that who you are is
Yeah.
learning who you are, the number
Yeah.
one thing. That was the first step in me. Like, I didn't go to parties. I didn't, when I
Right.
was a freshman, I had a group of friends that I did hang out with.
Yes.
You know who
Yes,
it was.
I know.
hung out with them all
We'll
the time.
leave you all anonymous.
Yeah, we'll leave you guys
Since
anonymous because you're
since you all have 19-year-olds right now.
Yeah. So, but all of those guys turned out to be incredible
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
But we just learned a lot through those
Mhm.
times. And learned to. They knew, my friends knew, they wanted me to hang out. Somebody better come rebound for a while.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going anywhere till basketball is over.
Right.
And then if we go there and it's dumb, I'm probably going to tell you it's dumb
That's
and
right.
leave. So, but the next day they still want to hang out.
Yeah.
I don't. And not that I was
Yes.
throwing them under the bus or
No.
judging them or doing any of those things. Just if it wasn't for me, it wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think you were good at that, and that's a good skill to possess.
Yeah.
That's a good skill to
It's
possess.
not easy for everybody because most people, like you say, they want to
Yes.
be liked. They
Yeah.
want to be in the in
Mhm.
crowd. But man,
Yeah.
if that's going to lead you down a path in a year that's going to be bad,
Uh-huh.
have at it, sir.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
but I'm not going
But
with
I'm
you.
not going with you.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you've written in your book about some tough times when you were a kid, some abuse and some things that you lived through that I mean, it would have been great if you didn't have to.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it definitely molded me. I think that when you, like you said, hindsight, you go through things, they hurt. You say, why me, Lord? Why this? Everything sets you on a course. Like, nobody needs that. And that right there is not of anything like
that's,
that.
yes, right.
But that definitely taught me some things. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? One, it's just in today's age, you got to be careful who's around you.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
those kind of things, those are things that it taught me. But, it also taught me that what doesn't kill you can help you grow if you let it. It's
Yeah.
according to how you
Mhm. Yeah.
absorb it or how you receive it.
Mhm.
I have brothers in my family and people in my family that they're still hung up on what happened to them or how
Mhm.
this went or how that went, and then they use
Yeah.
it as an excuse for bad behavior.
Yeah.
And addicts. I mean, I have plenty of addicts in my family, and that's one of the reasons why I just don't drink. I'm
Well-
afraid that I could like it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I think you've done the work to process it, and over time you've channeled a lot of that energy that could have been negative and put
in
it
a
toward
positive way.
Yeah.
But I think also too, I constantly kept myself surrounded with people, the
Yeah.
right kind of people that, and I think that that's important.
Mhm.
None of this stuff that I've achieved or anywhere I've gotten, I've done it on my own. I've learned a lot. Even though my grandmother was a preacher, I didn't start really going to church. Well, that's not true. Brother Les started
Yes.
taking
I
me
love
to church
that part
when
of the
I was
book.
a kid.
I love it.
And then, I found a bridge and a gap. I met you guys. Like, I always had that faith in God in my life in some capacity through someone that I could learn from that carried me. You know?
Yeah.
And I've traveled the world, and I have Jewish friends, I have Muslim friends, I have all different sorts of friends, and none of that has ever made me shake in my faith or what
No.
I've done.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you talk about learning people. I've learned more about Muslims probably than I've ever learned. That doesn't mean that faith's for me, but
Yeah.
you know, good Muslim people are just like you and me.
Yes.
They're not extremists. You know what I
No,
mean? And they're,
right.
I feel like even in our religion, there's some extremists
Yes.
on our side,
Yes,
but we
there are.
don't look at
That's
it
right.
like that, I think, as Americans. So
Yeah. Well, if you are a true believer, then love is what characterizes
Yeah,
your
and-
thing, and not love with restrictions.
Yeah.
Love wide open, no matter what, all the way to the end, whether they ever,
Well,
whether you agree on those things or not. And yeah,
yeah. Well, if you study religion in some way, and I don't have a background, you know, I'm not a scholar or anything, but God is a part of every religion in some kind of way. Now, they may have taken it and turned it to the way, you know,
Yeah.
but in some kind of way, he's a part of all of it. And if you really don't understand other people's religions, and I don't mean that I understand it to the point to where I can go do
Right.
the things they
Yes.
do, but to have some grace, I can't have an
Yes.
opinion about
yeah,
the Muslims
Yeah.
or the Mormons
Yes.
if I don't know anything about
right.
the religion.
Well, you can assume that they are seeking just like we are.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
And
that's all we're responsible. I mean, I feel like we love and we serve, and that's where the sentence ends. We're not required to go wage war
Yeah.
against anyone else. And I mean, I think when you look at Jesus's life, the people he waged war against was the organized religion of the day. So
That's a true story.
I mean, he went where the real people were.
Yeah.
That's where.
When I was in my whole career in Europe, Mormon people
Yeah.
saved me because
Yeah.
they have long lifelines in all those countries, and kids
Yes,
come
they do.
there, so
Yeah.
they know where everything is. They know the safe places. They know where not
Sure.
to go. So every year I went to Europe,
Yeah.
I found the Mormon kids.
Yeah,
I'd come to games, so I had to learn something about them.
yeah, you do.
In order to continue to build relationships with them. So
Yeah.
it's just like I said, I feel like life, you can make life what you want it.
Yeah.
You know, whether what you have or what you don't have,
Mm-hmm.
you can be rich. I feel very rich. I feel like
Yeah.
richer than some people that have money
Yes.
because I've been able to travel the world
Yeah.
for basically free.
Mhm.
I've used my body to do it, but I've built a lot of relationships and connections in a lot of countries. And
Yeah.
I just think that only makes me richer in the end.
It does.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's the stuff that you get to keep. Let's kind of finish off on what after you played, you've coached on a million different levels, and I won't make you retrace every coaching thing. But what did you love about coaching? What were some of your favorite coaching moments?
I think the biggest thing that I love about coaching is when when the light comes on in their head and they see, oh man, I really can do this. And they start to develop this hunger to be better. I coached a kid, his name is Sam Godwin. He plays at OU.
Okay.
Okay, I trained him for all high school, and he went to a private D1 school. When I first got Sam had no self-esteem. He's like, I suck, man, and he'd do all this stuff, and it was just hard. He was harder on himself, but now he walked on at OU. He left the private school. He didn't like it. Walked on at OU, and he's the second best player on our team.
Wow.
And just got a full scholarship there.
Great.
But I say that just because his parents call me still, and there's like, you taught Sam to believe in himself, and that's the only reason he got there.
Yeah.
So, and I tell him, no, Sam did that himself. I just was there along, coaching him a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that right there is what I like the most out of coaching. The best job I ever had, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't even coaching. The best job I had was being the grade school health and physical education teacher. I'm telling you, you couldn't have bad days because those kids come in just wanting love and wanting to give
Yes.
love. And all of them don't get what they need.
No, they don't. That's right.
So I think that I had the best time teaching. Kate, that was
Yes.
my favorite time. But I'd probably say high school or college would be the levels that I like most because you get to teach people how to
Yeah.
gain ground in life.
Yeah.
When you go to the pros, it's babysitting
Mm-hmm.
and psychological games to
Yes.
teach these rich babies how to. Okay, you have to be a part of the team. You can't do
Right.
this. Like so, more. I enjoy the high school and college a
Yeah.
lot more because you get to see the growth in the people.
Yes, I can see
In
that.
the pros, you're really a counselor more than
Mhm.
anything. So
Yeah.
it's been very fulfilling. I knew after what Phil did for me that that's what I was going to do with my life.
Mhm.
And I think very seldom do you get to say, hey, I want to be this, and then you actually go through life and get to do
it.
exactly what you say. Most of my friends have had a million jobs or done this
Yeah.
to get to where you want to go, but I think I've been blessed in every aspect
Mhm.
of life.
Yeah. Well, you're always open to what's coming and
And that's something else that I think that's funny, like, especially coming from small towns. Change and evolution happens regardless
Yes.
of whether you want it to or not. It is
right.
coming.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can do to
No,
stop it.
that's
you know,
right.
Unless you move to, even I read this article the other day about this remote village in the Amazon that only has like 47 or 50 people in the tribe, and they're trying to make them be civilized. Like,
Right.
so change is coming.
Change is
regardless.
coming.
You can't hide from it.
That's right.
You know.
No, you can't. And you figure out again at this age, just it's coming. You might as well quit digging your heels in and figure out how to embrace it and use it for
Well,
use it for what's
Use
good.
it, but you better learn to get along with people.
Yeah,
Because when
you
change
better.
happens, you don't know. You might have to be friends.
That's
or,
right.
You might have to go in a
Yep.
direction that you never
Yeah.
thought you would.
Learning to pivot is
Yeah. Learning to pivot. I think that's
It's a
something that
lesson.
I've gotten good at in
You
life.
have gotten
to be
very
able to
good at
pivot.
it.
I'm a pro at pivoting.
That's right. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So if you were going to look back, and you are a coach in all the aspects, even in life, what would you encourage young women to? How would you encourage them if they were? And they don't have to be even coming out of high school, but just anyone coming behind you. What would be the lesson that you would say from here back? What would be a couple of things that you would just encourage people to do?
What would be something I would encourage people to do? The biggest thing I would encourage people to do, and I think that I was just blessed, is find yourself. Like my book, learn
Mhm.
who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a lot easier. Life's a lot easier, and you don't fall for nearly as many gimmicks and tricks and of the trade when you know exactly who you are
Yeah.
and what you stand for. It's just some things that, like I was telling someone the other day, it cracks me up when people send me these requests on Facebooks to be a part of a makeup group. Like,
Yes.
no, like.
Do you know me?
Do you know me? Like, I have no desire. I quit being a sportscaster because I had to wear makeup every day, like, and get it touched up all
Yeah.
the time. Just knowing who you are, and don't be afraid to live your dream.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd say that I have failed way more than I've succeeded. Just my
Well,
failures.
we all
are-
have. Yeah.
We all have. Failure is a natural and can be a very good
That's
part of
how you
life
learn.
if
Yep.
you embrace it, if you learn from it.
Yeah.
And and I, like I said, I failed a lot, and I know that that's just going to make me a little bit smarter the next time I try. Keep getting back up and keep trying if it's something that you really want, because right when you feel like it might not happen, that's when it does.
Yeah. I think that's good. So good. Well, thanks for coming
Oh,
on
no, thank you.
and sharing. And again, if you haven't gotten the book, get the book. You can get it on Amazon. You may can get it other places, but Amazon's where it's
Right
kind of
now, it's still on Amazon.
an easy go-to book, and it is like students could read. I don't know if elementary students would want to read it, but
I'd say
junior high and high school.
Junior high and high
Yeah.
school kids. it
Yeah,
would be-
and grown-ups. And if you're from Atoka, you should get one because you could be in the book and not
never
even
know.
You
could be.
never know. No, but it's a good book, and she shares a lot of her life and what she's learned, and then gives out a few. I wouldn't call it an advice book, but you share the lessons you've learned that we all that we all can learn. Okay, so if people want to find you, are you on social media?
Yes, Instagram. I'm at crobert3. Probably everybody in the area I am friends with.
Yeah.
And Facebook, but I'm not.
right.
I look at Facebook, but I don't.
Yeah, you're not much on there.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I might post once every 3 months.
Yeah.
I need to be better at that, but I'm not good at it. So.
Do you have a wiki page? She's on Wikipedia. Who knows if it's accurate information?
Oh,
but
it's accurate.
It is?
I don't
Okay.
do it. I don't know who put it up.
But somebody, okay.
Somebody
Yeah.
manages it.
And then you are, right now, you're kind of in between.
Right now, I am just training.
Okay.
I just decided I actually left my job in Phoenix, and I just decided I'm going to train for a while. I think that I can do better maybe on my own.
Yeah.
But, I'm ready to start building some memories. And then
Yes.
as a professional coach, like I'm telling you, it's a grind. It's
Yeah.
a busy. For 4 months, I literally can't look up for
Yeah.
4 months but then
Yeah.
I have 8 months off.
Yeah.
So
But it's a lot.
it's a lot. I'm taking a little time, but I don't know.
You
get
never
job
know.
offers. You never know. I could end up
That's
somewhere.
right. That's right. Well, thanks for coming, and I love you, and we'll see.
Thanks for having me.
See what's coming up.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, and hit subscribe to keep up with all future episodes. We'd also love for you to leave us a 5-star review. That wraps it up for today's Marcy in the Middle. And remember, whatever you're in the middle of, you're not alone. We'll see you next time.